I'm painting some acrylic on top just to sort of disguise the underpainting. And that's the great thing about acrylics, you can paint over other paintings or work or parts of your work you don't like. So I've got some white for the sky area and just some yellow for the sort of grass and sunflower area. And I'm just painting this with a large flat brush. So I'm going to allow my painting to dry, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to paint the sky. I'm using a large flat 1-inch brush. I'm using white, yellow and red to paint some warm areas of the sky, as you can see in the photograph, and then I'm using cobalt blue with a touch of red and some white. It's quite a pale colour, and I'm blending in the top of the sky there, still using that flat 1-inch brush, and then painting it around those sort of warmish clouds there, adding some more white now and blending this towards the sort of horizon and at the top of the sunflowers there, adding a little bit of yellow ochre to that colour as well, and blending with my flat brush. So I'm painting the sort of middle ground and foreground here, still using the same brush, mixing up some blue and yellow with a touch of white. It's kind of a mid-tone, and as you can see here, I'm being very expressive with my brush and adding from time to time a little bit more, maybe blue, maybe some more yellow. So I'm painting sort of light, mid-tone and dark tone colours. As you can see here, I'm actually using a liner brush. It's a long, thin brush just to paint in some of the stems on the horizon line there, and also some darks and details in the foreground. And I'm using a plastic store card here cut up, and I'm printing now, tapping it into the paint and then printing it on to my painting here to get some really thin sort of lines. They can be the stems or grasses or leaves, especially in the distance there, and it's a really effective technique. I'm going to allow my painting now to dry, or to give it a blow dry, one or the other. And I'm just painting the centres of the sunflowers. I've mixed up some Paynes grey, you can use black, and some red, so it's a really dark brown colour. You can also use a burnt umber as well, maybe mixed with a touch of black. So the foreground or middle ground ones are sort of bigger circles. I've swapped to a smaller brush to paint some of the smaller sort of middle of the sunflowers in the distance. And what I'm doing now is I'm actually painting the yellow of the sunflower, catching that paint in the middle there. So it's kind of making some dark sort of petals there. So it's a great way of painting shadows on the petals here. And so I will paint lighter colours later. With acrylics, you work dark to light. So these are the darker sort of petals. I'm actually exaggerating it as well. So I'm just loading my brush with some yellow, and then it picks up some of that sort of red and Paynes grey mixed together to make a dark brown. And you get sort of all these different sort of colours in there. It's a really, really nice technique. I'm using a sort of 1/2 inch flat brush. You can use a round brush as well. Do whatever, use a brush where you feel comfortable. so you can actually achieve these sunflowers. I'm painting in a very impressionistic style, and I'm painting these petals in a clockwise fashion as best I can anyway, but really in the distance there, just little yellow marks here and there. So I'm going to allow my painting to dry because I want to paint some lights on top of these sunflower here. So I'm using a small flat brush. I'm using cadmium yellow. I'm painting wet on dry some of the lighter petals, and I'm just sort of making sure that I leave some of the darks as well. So I'm mixing it up a little bit. Again, it's a good idea to allow your painting to dry. Once the painting is dry, what I'm doing now is I'm just using a little bit of a natural sponge. I've torn it off, and I'm using some of the Paynes grey, a little bit of the red there, but mostly Paynes grey, and I'm tapping it into the centre there to create some texture, especially those foreground ones. And you get that lovely texture, don't you, in the middle of sunflowers. So I'm doing this wet on dry. And what I'm doing now is I'm just painting some of the stems of the main sunflowers with a light green. That's yellow with a touch of blue and a touch of white, using a small round brush there. And it just sort of gives a little bit of depth to your painting as well. So I think I'll leave my painting there for now. Here is a close-up of the painting. I really hope this inspires you to paint a field of sunflowers. If you have any questions about this tutorial, please put them in the comments section below. And if you'd like to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, where you will get updates of my latest tutorials. Thank you so much for watching. Happy painting. Bye for now.